Good morning, YouTube, and today I'll be presenting you my Demise deck profile. This is one of those underrated ritual archetypes that I feel deserves a look, and I've been working on a build ever since it got new support in Cybernetic Horizon, and I think I finally came up with one that I personally am comfortable with. So let's hop right into it. Starting off with our monsters, run a playset of the original Demise, King of Armageddon. You run him because he is searchable with a good chunk of your deck. He's always going to be live with any of your ritual spells, and his blow-up effect has always been great and only is just as good nowadays. Next, run a playset of the Supreme King version of Demise. He does the exact same thing essentially, but he gets a few extra bonuses such as burn and protection if you ritual summon him using another ritual monster, so run him at 3. Next, run a playset of the Supreme Queen of Oblivion. She's nice because she can attack twice, and she can protect your monsters from being destroyed by card effects. So all in all, I like her a little bit better than the Supreme King, but still just as essential as he is. We run 1 Incantation Chalice Lime, I like him because he facilitates, of course, your incantation engine that you do run in this deck. You don't want to run him more at 1 because he's a hard once per turn, and so seeing any more than one of him is kind of rough. But he does allow you to have another ritual monster to use as a material, so you can get your Supreme Queen and King's effects off. So all around, great card, and you can use it multiple times in a duel. Run 1 Pencil Plume and 1 Bookstone. Going on to our regular effect monsters, I only run 1 and 1 because they are needed so that you have more names to potentially go off, have your Chalice Slime and the rest of your incantations, and just to get your plays going off. But they're not as good because they fetch from the graveyard, whereas the other ones fetch from the deck. But you might argue of wanting to run more than just 1 and 1 of each of those. That being said, run a playset of Talismandre and Candle. Of course, I'm probably butchering the names, but they are more of your facilitators. They allow you to search for a ritual monster and a ritual spell, depending on which one you go for. And they have higher levels, so all in all, if you go for one or the other, you're likely going to be able to go into one of your Supremes turn 1, which is all in all great. We run a playset of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. This is just about your only normal summon of the deck, but it allows you to have a play starter, and he's not as essential as you may think. In all actuality, he is more often used and gets ashed and baits out the negates earlier on, and then later on you can just feel free to go for your plays. So I like him as that, but he does allow you to search for any of your ritual spells or monsters in a free +1. Great card. Rounding up our monster lineup, we run 2 Radians, the multi-dimensional kaiju. I just elected to run him because he does give you some spot removal of problematic monsters, and he's a dark target because we run the Allure, and he has some level to him, so which makes him pretty nice to run in the main. Moving on to our spells, run a playset of End of Z-World. I like it because it is searchable, A. B, it allows you to go to any of your Demise cards. It's just all in all a great card. It's searchable, don't run it at any less than 3. And that being said, we do run a playset of Cycle the World, which does essentially the same thing, but it's not searchable. But it also has the additional effect of during your next turn, you can banish it from graveyard and search for an End of the World. So that's all in all great. Next, we run a playset of Turning of the World. I like it because it allows you to go for more extensive plays during your battle phase potentially, or even potentially set up for your next turn if you don't utilize your OTK. So all in all, you could justifiably not run it at 3, but I've liked it at 3 in testing. We run a playset of Pre-Preparation of Rites. Even if all you do is search for End of the World and use it for your Supremes, it's still a great card because it's a free +1, and those are pretty darn nice to have in the deck. We run a playset of Allure of Darkness. This is my consistency in the deck. You can obviously probably run Acquisitiveness on top of this, but I've liked this so far. You have 12 targets in your deck, maybe 13. The math might be off, but it's all in all a great card. It allows you to go for those pluses. Next, I am currently playing 2 Dark Ruler No More and 2 Twin Twisters. I've liked these because it gives you some answers to some on-field negates, since this is clearly a going second deck. But these are easily transferable. Like Dark Ruler No More has the drawback if you can't inflict damage, but you can still feel free to blow up your opponent's field. And Twin Twisters has the fact that you have to discard to use it. But all in all, I've liked these in testing, and I wouldn't take them out anytime soon. The extra deck is really free. You can run anything you want to, but in my opinion, if you have a free extra deck, you can run Nightmare Mermaid, Mega Fleet, and Commander Tech Fortress Dragon. You can bump these up at all, because these are the ones that you can just freely go into using your opponent's monsters, depending on if they're playing the appropriate deck. So I run at least those three. Everything else is pretty free to whatever you have and whatever you want to play. Just because I run these, just because you could potentially go for it. You can't use your incantations to go into these, but they're there just because. We run a Topologic Trashmania because sometimes it's a nice going first card. Sometimes it's just there again because we have plenty of space. You can just swap out any of these for anything else. I like Nephthys, the Sacred Flame, because if you do happen to get all your Demises negated, it's easy just to go into this, and if you use 3 of them, you have an automatic 4800 beat stick that can't be destroyed. So nothing wrong with this, and I would recommend, if you have one of these, to run it in your Demise deck. We run a few rank 8s just because we have the ability, if you go into your Demise, which is your easy to most summonable monster in the deck, you do have the possibility of going to rank 8s, so these are just a few that I put in there. You have the ability to go into rank 10s, so we run number XX, Sky Palace, number 81, and a Gustav Max. Gustav Max is probably the one you'll go into the most, because it allows you to go into the extra chip damage that you may need just to pop for game. But again, it's arguably, you can swap any of these cards out for anything that you feel more comfortable with. There's not a right or wrong in this deck. And that is going to wrap up my version of Demise. I have thoroughly enjoyed this deck in playtesting. I picked up these Demises a long time ago, hoping to find a build that I could be comfortable with, and had kind of put it on the back burner, and recently found the cards like, oh, well, I picked up all these cards, might as well put them together and test them, and I've had some fun with it. It's one of those ritual archetypes that goes under the radar, because usually Necros are by far the more proponent. But it's a fun deck that you can have some excitement going second. If you're one of those people that always fears of losing the die roll, this is a deck that can definitely succeed, and just blowing up your opponent's entire field is so satisfying at times. Let me know what changes you have in your versions. I'm very excited to know, and this is a fun deck that I hope to make some changes of in the future and have a great time with it. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.